Pleasant evening, comrades. Please stand. We're going to sing the national anthem. Count to three. 1, 2, 3. In and to the ending time of our right things on this expect Thank you. Please remain standing for a word of prayer. This comrade Adrian is going to lead us in a word of prayer as well.
I'll get Bruno after the speakers.
Amen. Please sit. All right, thank you for coming out to our town hall meeting. My name is Nathaniel Boyce. I'll be your host for this evening. This evening, we will have the first 4 presenters. We have this on our left-hand side. We have Mr. Pisa, Mr. Ryan Waters, Mr. Andrew Worrell, and the opposition leader, Mr. Ralph Thorne, will be also with us as well. All right, it's my pleasure. First, I'm going to present our first speaker, Ms. Verla de Pisa. She has made a significant contribution to the Barbadian politics through her leadership in the Democratic Labour Party. She has been an effective advocate for marginalized groups, particularly focusing on women's empowerment and children's rights. She has a law degree and experience in corporate law. Pisa has been instrumental in shaping policies that aim to create a more equitable society. Her tenure as a party president has seen her push for reforms in education and healthcare, emphasizing the importance of social welfare programs. Pisa is known for her engaging public speaking and her ability to basically connect with the constituents in various aspects. At this point in time, I would like to invite Pisa.
Good evening, everyone. It's so good to see you out on a Sunday evening. I know it was unusual to see me speaking first, but I have another engagement which has actually already started without me, and I have to get to that point as well. It's not unusual to have more than one thing to do in a day. This podium doesn't wish to accommodate my phone. Yeah. So you're not hearing me at all? Is that better now? It's good for me. You have to let me know if it's good for you all. Can you hear me now? Okay, good, because I can hear myself now too, twice. So hopefully that echo is not also going out on the feed. I was asked to speak this evening about the area that I shadow, which is the Attorney General's chambers and legal matters. Permit me, though, to step aside from that and have what I believe is a conversation that we are not having in this country. And the reason why I want to speak about this is because I listened in part to the conference and the speech from yesterday evening, and I recognize that the thrust going forward, because she spoke about her 5-point plan becoming policy initiatives for government. And there were lofty ideals, such as being kind to each other and not littering. And there were very, very laudable topics, but fluffy when you are talking about the governance of a country. In general, we need to calm down. There's no doubt about that. We need to become more in tune with conflict resolution. We need to take care of our surroundings. But a more pressing concern that is not being addressed by the government of the day is how do we treat our citizens? How does government treat its citizens? And I am very curious because we will be kind and we will not litter and all of these lovely things. But at the end of the day, what is fueling the frustration of our people? And I think that is what government really needs to be dealing with. How do we get to that point of discussing what is frustrating our people? And I'm a lawyer, I don't like to ask questions and I can't answer them too. So I'm coming today with a couple of responses to how a government ought to care for its people. And the first one that I want to speak about is housing. How are you as a government making significant strides at a time when what is being highlighted are initiatives in construction that have precious little to do with housing our people? I am thinking of the development of St. Peter that was opened on Friday, which will have 200 people working on the project, but when it is finished, 30 will have a job. 30 will have a job. We have not been told how many of those jobs we are going to see advertised in those little boxes, looking for persons from overseas to be brought in. We are told that Hayat will finally get off the ground. Hopefully, Ms. Ram will get her money before that. We are told that Four Seasons project looks as though it has an investor. But we are not told, and I forgot the most important one to me. We are noting that the sale of the civic complex in Old Town is pending. And I say pending because the resolution still has to come to the floor of Parliament. But I have no doubt that the buyer has already been found. And for me, it speaks to a government that puts those types of structures ahead of housing its people. Now, my job is not yet to discuss who. I'm waiting for the second Auditor General's report because I am confounded that the first one wasn't all and that he has even more to say on that topic. And I am waiting for the Public Accounts Committee to sink its teeth into what has happened so far so that we can have an understanding of where we're at and where we need to be. And hopefully that happens soon. Pardon me looking at Ryan, but he's the only parliamentarian in the room right this minute. When the others come, it will give them that fuzzy eyebrow as well. What we do not see is the same flurry of activity to house our people. And why does this matter? There was an article in today's Sunday Sun, and its caption was "The Gentrification of Barbados." The author is Miss Donia Pigott, a young Barbadian. And she highlights this very problem in different words, but then pussyfoots about the solution. So I want to talk about it because I don't have any fears. When we allow business of any type to intrude on ordinary housing stock, to intrude on ordinary agricultural stock, we are pushing our own people out of that space. Now, that is what gentrification is understood to mean. You move into a neighborhood, you start fixing it up prettily, it looks great, but what you are really doing is pricing it out of the reach of the people who are already there, and they are forced into somewhere else. Where are you going in Barbados? When we have moved our people along, where are they going? And that is why I am concerned about the frustration that is building up in our people. Because when we look at what is the priority for this government, it is not about the management of our people. We have hotel plant that often complains about lack of occupancy, and yet we're building more. We have a villa industry that we don't get very many reports on because the majority of it is foreign owned. We have a tourism plant that is mature, and we have not taken the time to raise through baby steps any other industry to back it up. I am concerned because after 200 people end their work and only 30 get work, what are they to do? I am not even going to assume that there are 30 of the 200 because those 200 are working in construction. And now we're looking for people who are working in the hotel industry. What are they to do? What is the sustainable plan that this government has for the people of Barbados? And it cannot be that their vision for our people is forever to be bellhops and maids in the hotel industry. And I look at it again and I think about what makes our people frustrated. And I think about how our roads are so bad. But for World Cup, they could find the money to fix the ones that got other people to the oval. And people like me who live in St. Thomas can't find a good road to get home on at all. It is a choice of bad, worse, and worse. And St. Thomas isn't special. If you go off the beaten track, off the highway, off those major roads, onto any road in Barbados, you will find how bad it is. And then this paper was a whole vibe. How you mean that you gave up the road tax, put on fuel tax, raking in more money, decided that the commercial industry needed to also go back and pay road tax, and now you're finding a third layer for heavy-duty vehicles to pay road tax? Are we getting back road tax on the slide whilst retaining fuel tax? Is that what we are getting? Because we are just hearing these fuzzy plans, but we're not understanding how are these impacting on our people. Because at the end of the day, that really is the purpose of government. It is to manage the affairs of the country so that our people can live well. When are we going to hold them to account? And I've only picked two so far. What is happening in our health services? Why could that not be a topic at your conference? Why is it that we constantly have to hear, and I wish you to welcome political leader and leader of opposition. He was not here when I said it, so I'm going to say it again, that we're anxiously awaiting the start of the Public Accounts Committee into court, because I don't want to make any comments until it is investigated and investigated well. Thank you. Thank you very much. I have a date. Life is serious, but you have to find a moment for levity as well. Right? When we have a government that is so consumed with the needs of others, but the only thing that it can find to leave a message for its citizens is don't litter and be kind, it speaks to the vacuous nature of that government. They are without the thoughts and the ideas to allow them to make the changes that would be fundamental in the lives of our people. And what is going on in education? COVID had not come yet when Minister Bradshaw said that they were going to abolish the 11+ exam. COVID hadn't come yet. And we are 4 years past COVID. And we can't hear from them what that next plan is. So children remain, well, children, to be quite honest, as a parent, children seem not to notice things in the way that the parents do. But that state of flux remains. What is it that has our people frustrated? Why, when we open our newspapers, are we finding our young men and younger with each report involved in criminal activity? What is frustrating our people? Do you touch the button to fix it by saying be kind, pick up the litter? And these are your policy initiatives going forward. How do we address that slide into chaos and anarchy that this country is feeling? How do you have a super parliament, ultra numbers, but you can't get the right legislation passed? Where is our integrity legislation today? Where is the companion? I'm hearing 3 years later. That's 3 years later since it passed. But a whole election cycle before that they were pussyfooting with it. So I'm counting from 2018. And the reason I am counting from 2018 was because they made it an election promise in 2018 and it was part of their first order of business. I must admit, though, that when you look at their covenant of hope that they were touting last night, you can see why they're still with it, because they haven't even dusted it off in the last few years. The majority of it is undone work. But we had an election called early, and we're into the second iteration of this government. Second. And they're talking about manifesto promises from 2018. And in the meantime, our people remain frustrated. How are you, as a leader, addressing major issues that this country faces by talking about the kind and the trash? We know to be kind and to pick up the trash, but our lives are miserable. Our livelihoods are under threat. Our people are getting on them if they are not foundational. When are we building out our society? When are we housing our people, caring for their health, educating them? When are our special forces to be treated like they are special? Why is it that we have new police stations with mold growing in them? Why are our police still upset over their pension provisions? Why? These are the major issues that need to be addressed in our country. And there's no better time than right now to call to account. We need to take this business seriously ourselves within the Democratic Labour Party. And outside of any pronouncement which we must deal with in a very serious way, but outside of any pronouncement on the other side, to say to the country how we will fix these ills. And we don't have to look too far, because I can hold some licks for this, but I understand. We were about the people's business and didn't bother to tell them what we were doing. We cannot fall into that trap again. We need to tell them what we are doing or what we want to do. Both things. And whilst it looks great to have the books straight, and whilst it is important, we will not deny that, to move up the ranks in terms of our ratings. I'm not going to be the one to say that, well, we're still in junk bond, which we are, but we're moving in the right direction. And that is fine. But if the offshoot of that is the discomfort of our people and the dismantling of our society, then the Democratic Labour Party already has the mantra We are more than an economy. We are also a society. And we need to start looking and living it and telling the policies that we intend to move forward with. It is time. It is time. Put everything behind us and only look forward. Those of us who are students of the Bible would know you're pressing towards that mark. Nothing that happened behind is as significant as what is in front of us. Have to do it now. This is the point in time when we start to put our good works out there, and we don't have to look far. Right back at that point, I went off on a tangent, but we don't have to look far because we had solid proposals in manifestos that never got to be put into place. They will need to be updated. Some will need to be scrapped, but we won't need to go back to the drawing board cleanly. And for certain, I hold some licks for this too, but from a different set of people. Certainly, life is harder for the average Barbadian today, as they no longer live paycheck to paycheck because the paycheck can't cover their outgoings. And they live in fear that anybody gets sick because the QEH drop into pieces and they can't pay for private care. It is time that we, the Democratic Labour Party, understand our role in this society, representing the people. Business will make a way. Business will be accommodated. But anytime that you see that scale tip and business becomes the primary focus of government, we are setting ourselves up for a rough time socially. And we are seeing the unrest already. My message this evening then is pick up the garbage. Be kind to one another. And all of those other fluffy things you were told to do last night. But call all 29 of them to account. Fix my roads. Get my health in order. What you're doing with my children. Sort this country out in short order, or we will sort you out. I thank you.
At this point in time, we are going to take some questions. Verla would have spoken on a number of issues just now, and she spoke about health, and some of us know the situation at the hospital that is in the state. She spoke on the whole fiasco, spoke about jobs, spoke about the maintenance in schools, even 11 plus, that a few years ago we were told that it's going to be abolished, but we see that we still have that on the cards. So at this point in time, I'm going to allow some questions.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
I read in today's paper, our Prime Minister spoke about hope and giving people hope. Now, my acronym for hope is to helping our people excel. How do we help our people excel when they have some living above the law and there are others who are catching their behinds as far as the law is concerned? Now, my question to you today, and this is one that personally concerns me. How do you approach the law when every turn you make, the law is not in your favor? That's the first question. All the evidence you have at hand, and I'm speaking about from a civil perspective, and I was praying for the last 4 or 5 years that God would give us a voice in Parliament as far as the country is concerned. Give us an opposition. Now, there are some people, when you call the names, they are regarded as upstanding Barbadian citizens. They speak about the reputation and they speak about the character. But the one thing they can't speak about is integrity. Because integrity comes from deep within, and only you and God knows about it. And I can ask you the burning question for me today. Now, as I said before, when names are called, some people will say to you that they are upstanding Barbadian citizens. But if they are upstanding Barbadian citizens, I want to be a down-sitting one. With the kind of things some of them can easily do, and they have no fears about it. Now, I got one child, and he's an attorney. He's now pursuing his master's in law. And some of the things that I've been going through for the last couple of years in this country, born and bred Barbadian, the Barbadian parents, to some of the people who came here, it's heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. I had a grandfather, he had every military name that we can talk about this evening. He was captain, colonel, lieutenant general, every name. And he got those nicknames from the way he used to treat us. Galore, for the slightest thing that he considered out of character. But now you can got people go to insurance companies, ladies and gentlemen, and get claims on the behalf of a victim without the victim being known. And then you go to the registrar, you go to the chief justice, you go to some everybody. And the insurance telling you daily, we have paid the claim together with the interest. But now, I'm speaking about me, you know. I personally am now facing the civil suit in this court of this country that I serve as a juror in this country. And I got proof to show that they collected the money, because the lawyer that's representing me, I ain't gonna call the figure, but then they turned it took almost $66,000 from me, my son's education fund. And he had to sit down in an apartment overseas for a year to college. I sound angry today, it's because I'm angry. But the Bible says, be angry and say not.
Right.
But
if I may, because you're speaking of a personal situation, you will understand why I can't answer, because I don't know what you know. Okay? I can only say that, and Comrade Derek is here, the broad topic that you are speaking of is going to be covered in the report of the Democratic Labour Party's Commission on Crime. Okay? Not giving away more than that just yet, but that topic about persons who seem to be not necessarily above the law, but certainly standing outside of the law and not having the same strictures as everybody else will be discussed in that report. I would want you, though, because no one in here knows your personal story in the way that you do, to keep your comments more in tune with the national issues so that we can actually have a discourse on it.
But what I'm speaking about, they can digress into national issue. I started by saying They got some operating above the law. That's not a national issue.
And that's why I'm saying to you that I want you to frame by all means, have your personal examples, but frame it in that way so that I can actually participate, because I can't have any opinion on your personal matter.
I don't want you to have an issue on my personal matter, but what I intend to do, I know who I've been to, and some of them up in Christchurch, Foundation Hall, this afternoon, incidentally where my son been to school, and they're gonna make all kinds of promises. But I am a one man, and I am frightened, you know. Donald Trump just tell Americans to eat the people, cats, and dogs. So they want Barbadians, when these things happen to them, you can't work because you're incapacitated. You must eat cats and dogs too. I don't think Barbadians can digress to that kind of thing. Ma'am, this is a national issue.
Yeah,
a burning one.
It is a national issue, but you frame it in a manner that I can't respond because I don't know your personal case.
Do I tell you? And I'm gonna finish it now.
I also want you to mention your name because I don't know that either.
You want my name?
Well,
I can give you my name when I finish.
Okay.
But I intend to get hold of Marcia Weeks. You know why? There are many people in this country that got into motor vehicle accidents, and the insurance company to jump through. Mind you, everybody is out to rip them off. And them is the biggest rip-offs in the rip-off business. And nobody are paying attention to the insurance companies in this country and the things that they're doing, the ordinary working class Barbadians. If I sound angry today, it's because I am very passionate about what I'm speaking about. I just told you I am now confronted with a lawsuit, but I relish that. I can get hold of Miss Marcia Weeks, and I can carry my documents, because I ain't gonna let she put herself out there to be sued or to be held accountable for things she don't know about. And I can give them some of the documents, because I appeared in court on the 26th of last month. In a civil matter, a judge told me both sides of the defense has to be heard. The judge ain't hear my side yet, but she telling me I'm facing a massive fine. I can enlighten Barbadians about some of the things that happen, and I can enlighten them. I am a Christian man, and I don't intend to let nobody cause me to lose my integrity. Reputation and character is hard. But when it comes to reputation, that goes far and deep within, something that only you, the person, and God knows about. I want to thank you, but you listen out. My name is Jefferson Drakes, and I saw you last month at work.
Likely. It's very work. Yes.
Yeah, but I know if you roll back, I know some things that were probably said to you that when you get the idea, you know them is true. But I ain't frightened. I got one child in here, so they can't do nothing. A lot of the problems we are facing in society is as a result of some of the things that happened to me. That's why the young people, the way they are. Up to this morning, Her Majesty wanted to hear the High Court judge preach a sermon in my church. And a lot of the problems she spoke about are stemming from within the home. Because when the children see us doing certain things, oh, that is the way to go. That is how to do it. And that is why we are suffering the backlash today. But as you said, a lot of love.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Because I'm now skating very close to the edge of my time here.
Good evening, ma'am.
Evening.
Good evening. My question to you is, ma'am, is one question about submit up like two questions. Now, we had something recently that would have taken place in my Lord's Hill. Under the new Democratic Party regime, when we come to office now, how, as the incumbent Attorney General, how would you go about dealing or teaching, dealing with the issues pertaining to what the police, how they would have approached the situation and how the citizens would have approached the police? How would you deal with that?
I am not going to make any public statement on what happened in my Lord's Hill. I have my personal reasons. I have my personal reasons for that. However, the issues are large ones. Police have to be able to do their jobs and do them well. And part and parcel of doing them well is that people that they're supposed to be serving don't feel hard done by. So there is that fine line between the two. And when there are concerns about how the police manage their work, there is backlash. It has to be properly managed. It is an instance, as far as I'm concerned, relating to high command of the police. We have heard the two sides, but we don't have any independent positioning on what happened that evening. I say again that there are personal reasons why I am not speaking about it, and there must be an inquest. And I look forward to hearing what is said coming out of that.
My last question, ma'am. How would we be able to invest in getting more parole officers? Because I find that, as I would have suggested some time ago, when you have people that would have been incarcerated and they come out, they don't really have anybody to really guide them and be chaperoning them to make sure they stay on the straight and narrow. How would you go about, or how can we go about investing and making sure that we have more people put in place to help those that want to be on the straight and narrow, but there's not really somebody there?
Okay, I just want to be mindful of the terms that we use. Barbados has no parole system, so therefore we have no parole officers. In terms of mentorship, we have quite a lot. There are church organizations, men's groups. We have quite a few mentorship groups, but they are disparate. They are not connected in any way, nor are placed in prison before they come out. In a perfect world, there would be a halfway house, which I think we tried at some point in time in Barbados, so that there is a connection to both the prison and the open society, monitored and managed before the former prisoners are reintegrated into society. But then that is only one half of the equation, because those of us who have not run afoul of the law or not run afoul of the law to the point where we get convictions have to find grace in our lives as well to allow them to reintegrate into society. Because we say with one breath that they've paid their dues to society by spending the time, but then we constantly, in a small society like Barbados, throw it back in their faces that they went to prison. And we have to have that psychological shift as citizens, on top of them having their own shift towards becoming productive members of society. But it has to start from scratch, because we don't even have a system. I'm going to take the initiative and say thank you all very much, because the fading sunlight tells me that I need to be somewhere else. Thank you very, very much for coming and your participation, and I wish your undivided attention for the rest. Thank you.
Thank you, Comrade Burla. Comrade Burla will touch on a number of issues relating to health, education, the book project, as it relates to what is happening in our country. David, I know what she said is quite, I'm sure you'll join with me and say that it's quite alarming. What we see is happening here today in our country. Okay, and the next speaker is our very own Senator Rand Walters. Now, Senator Walters is dedicated to be a member of this Democratic Labour Party. He has been involved actively in politics. He's known for his focus on youth empowerment and economic development. Walters has worked on initiatives aimed at improving job opportunities for our young people and fostering a climate of innovation and entrepreneurship. His passion for community service and advocacy for the marginalized has made him a respected figure within the party and among his constituents. Rand Walters has emerged as a young and dynamic leader within this Democratic Labour Party, focusing on issues that has resonated with our youth of Barbados. He has been an advocate for small businesses, reform, believing that a strong foundation is essential for economic development. His grassroots approach and involvement in the community projects have earned him recognition as a champion for the youth and social responsibility in our political arena. At this point in time, I'm going to welcome Senator Walters.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. So good to see everyone. Are y'all feeling good? Yeah. Good evening also to our viewers at home because we're streaming. In my presentation today, we'll be kind of having a conversation because it's a town hall meeting, so I really want to have a conversation with you guys on kind of cost of living and what that looks like and what we're experiencing right now in the country. I do not anticipate that you would disagree with me when I say that we are in a cost of living crisis. But I think that this is an issue that is used politically from time to time to tell a story for one's political advantage. Today, I hope to just have a frank discussion, and although there will be some politics involved, just to discuss this whole issue of cost of living, because really it is one of those issues that we have to get right as a country and as a government, because it transcends political lines and it affects every single household in this country. So if we contextualize the cost of living, I think the first thing that I have done in the past, and I want to remind us here today, is the role a government plays as relates to either restricting increases in cost of living or enabling persons to be able to fight through what we call inflation. The government does have a responsibility. This government has a responsibility. Do not ever believe or do not ever get into your head that the notion that they cannot do anything is something that should be accepted. The government cannot be allowed to hide behind any sector, and in this instance, the private sector. They cannot be allowed to hide behind the private sector to say we have no solutions or it is not our responsibility. They have to evaluate carefully what they have done and how they have contributed to the very crisis that we are in today. So I start there because this government in particular, if you listen to them, and I've just came back from Jamaica and sitting at the bar in the hotel having a drink. And once you hear Barbados, you hear, oh, I love your Prime Minister. I want to move to Barbados. If these people understood really what Barbadians are going through, they would have a different perspective. So we come out, we hear the conference, we hear the five, what do you call them? The five what? 5 beacons of renewal. But how does that affect the average citizen in this country today? Out of an annual conference of a government with 29 seats in office, with the majority, you have not heard any solutions coming out on how they are going to make life easier. We have Prime Minister Mayor Morley leading us, but have not dealt with any substantial issues that Barbadians are facing. They go into a conference telling you now that you can see how much prices are in the supermarket. That is their response to cost of living. You have a price act, and I'm going to get into that later. But that is what we are dealing with in this country when it comes to cost of living. But let us evaluate. Let us evaluate. And I am always fair, and maybe too fair, because I rely on facts, on the truth. And the truth is very uncomfortable for the Barbados Labour Party. All we have to do is speak the truth. This government is trying its best to tell Barbados that it is the savior of the country and that has made things easier for Barbados. But let us recap, as they do, about our administration. Let us recap what they have done specifically for the last 6 years when in office. And all of these things, I will explain to you how they have impacted our lives as it relates to the cost of living. Overnight, Barbadians in totality over the last 6 years has carried a significant burden, a significant financial burden that I don't really understand, or you already think that people understand in its totality. I say without a doubt, and I challenge the government to say that it is not true when I say that over the last 6 years, the public of Barbados, the taxpayers and the households of this country have been asked to and have contributed to an additional $1.5 billion in additional taxation. $1.5 billion of new taxes. That is what we can compute. But there are others that are not so easily calculated. But this is the burden that we have asked to pay, asked to carry after the government won an election saying that they can't tax ourselves out of the recession. But what they have done is they have driven the country into a recession. You don't get tired as comrades and even as the public when we say that the fuel tax was a new tax. A new tax. We moved from paying anywhere between $260 to $400 in road tax to a regime that rakes in excess of $60 million a year. In excess, and that is in addition, let me put it into context. If we take the difference that we would have collected through road tax and we compare it to what we collected through the fuel tax, it is probably in excess of $200 million in addition It is real. It is a real pain to go to the pump and be asked to be paying significantly more when you are not seeing the improvement. You're not seeing the improvements into the system, into the road repairs. And then you're even asked then, as a country, after asked to pay more, you're also asked to carry the burden of additional borrowing to fix some of the ills within the road sector. Garbage and sewage levy, an additional $500 million. And if you look at our landscape, you know there's a significant amount of our population, our households, who are working class. This is 85 to 90% of this $500 million coming from our working class communities in this country. It is $400 to $500 million that these persons now do not have to go and buy a piece of chicken, to go and buy school supplies. You have to understand the implications of what this government has done, where they has carried us. And then, as I said, is one thing to tax. But if you're not seeing a change in the economy, if you're not feeling the pressures ease off of us, we are not no better off. We are worse off. Health services levy, and you've heard our comrade president speak to this before. They are getting directly into the Queen Elizabeth Hospital through direct taxation from your income to the tune of about $60 to $80 million a year. But we've not seen any improvements at the QEH. And again, you are being asked, by the way, to fund another loan, to buy equipment and to do infrastructural changes at the QEH. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand that $1.5 billion over the last 6 years is what we have committed in additional taxes and placed at the mercy of the Barbados Labour Party? For them to acknowledge that we are hopeless and we now have to renew the covenant of hope. That is what the Prime Minister said. We have to go back to the covenant of hope because they have failed and failed miserably. They have mismanaged the affairs of this country. They have earned more tax revenue than any other government simply because of inflation. They have earned more taxpayers' dollars than any government because they have introduced new taxes that have raised $1.5 billion from the working class people in this country. But their response will be that they remove the NSRL, the National Social Responsibility Levy. They will say that they remove the NSRL and that they also made some adjustments on the pension side by increasing pensions, etc. But when you look in totality and put it into context, what they have put on you versus what they have given you, what do you have? You have a net position of almost $800 million. So you are worse off. There's no ease that you have been given. So never let them make you believe that you have been given the ease. Because cumulatively, all of the things that they said that they have put on the plate to ease the burden, the financial burden, has been offset substantially by all of the taxes that they have implemented, which, as I said, is in the region of $1.5 billion. I didn't mention bus fares, but you have a government that comes to office and increases transportation costs by 70% to working class people in this country. And I will share with you now that When that decision was made, a lot of young people in this country stopped working because it made no sense financially for them. When you have to consider the implications of moving from $2 to $3.50 a trip, having to catch two vehicles, two buses or two vans, one way, two the other way, for 5 days a week. Doesn't include if you have to go down on a Saturday, you have to stop and collect the children and then take another bus. Doesn't factor in the realities of life. So the decision to work is now a harder decision for any young person. The minimum wage needle cannot be moved sufficiently to deal with these issues. And we spoke about the minimum wage, and we said it was being done incorrectly. They said we opposed it. We did not oppose it. But we do not have a minimum wage in Barbados. If the government comes today and says, any worker in Barbados working for 5 days a week, for 40 hours a week, should receive no less than $400 a week. That is a minimum wage. If your government comes to you and tells you that they will give you $8.50 per hour, they have given you a minimum wage rate, but they have left you to your employer, who can then change your hours of work to accommodate their budgets. So don't be fooled. We do not have a minimum wage. We do not have a minimum wage. And you hear now the head of the union, Barbados Workers Union, who is a parliamentary representative, she's now admitting that it's ineffective. Not in those words, but she's saying it's ineffective because she's in the supermarkets canvassing, trying to get membership. And she's saying that the workers need more money and that the employers are putting them on different work hours and they're working for less than 32 hours because we do not have a minimum wage in Barbados. So they can adjust the minimum wage as much as they want, unless they fix other things that feed into developing a minimum wage in Barbados. Workers at that level will be left on their own. But the thing about this government is that my expectation personally was that a government come into office with a covenant of hope, with a manifesto that had many promises, would want to seek to have an impact in the governance of the country, to govern the country, to say, let us do this better. We think that if we improve productivity, we can grow this economy. We think that if we allow more persons to get more hours at work, we can increase earnings for persons. You didn't have that conversation, you know. You had taxation to make money overnight, and everything comes out. I want money. I want money. It comes out 6 years after. We realized that it was not about livelihoods, it is about money. But the policies are playing out over time. And you see that it didn't only hit us, but you see the tourism industry. Not only did they carry up the cost of living for Barbadians, but they carry up the cost for tourists to come here. And you wonder why Barbados is the last country in the Caribbean to get back its tourism numbers to pre-COVID levels. You wonder why, but it is by their actions. It is by their actions. You have an airline travel and tourism development tax. We haven't seen the tourism product develop in any form. We saw CEOs come and go. We saw bad slogans. We saw airlines come and go, where they came with 10 people and they left with none. You introduce levies to hotel rooms in Barbados. And you hear all over the world, inflation is real. People feeling depression. Why would somebody want to come to this jurisdiction versus another one that is priced more competitively, that has beaches, sand, nice hotels, nice service? Are we fooling ourselves? We have a product development levy, 2.5% on direct taxes. And let me tell you, you are paying this tax and you don't even know it. Anywhere you go that is associated directly with a tourism product, you are paying 20% tax, 17.5% for VAT, and 2.5% for this product development levy. So when you are having your celebration at a nice restaurant, and people come out, happy birthday to you and all that, your bill is 2.5% higher. But that is the reality. But people, you are not recognizing this, because amongst all of the fluff, these things are eased in. And we're not seeing the effects, but we are feeling the effects. You have a shared economy tax, 10% or Airbnb and those SPD, etc. Persons have to pay significantly more to come here. To an old product, to a product that has not been developed since 2018. What do we have to offer that we didn't have in the Democratic Party's tenure in tourism? But comrades, viewers at home, please take note of these things. It's not only numbers. I use the numbers to show you the impact that is having on you personally, on your communities. When you pass shop on your way home and you see nobody, that is the reason. Because persons do not have the disposable income. Now, you have heard me speak about this topic for a while. Gas prices. And someone called me and said, but the government is not responding. Why isn't the government responding to the calls to adjust the gas prices in this country? And the question did not stop me, but I told the person on the other end of the line that the government does not have a response. It does not have a response. Because what they are doing is that they've given you on one side, and now it is time to take it back. You remember press conferences about caps on the VAT of the gas prices, how they are going to shield you from the increases. This is now 412 days since we are paying $420 per liter at the pump. A price that is one of the highest prices, I think the second or third highest price that Barbados have ever had to pay at the pump. Sustained at a level that is unbearable, and that is flowing through the economy and stifling it. And we talk about growth. The only way that this government is growing anything is by taxes. Not by any other way. Tourism is down. Construction is stagnant. Construction levels in 2023 are below that of 2018. And I'm speaking from reports by the Central Bank. The contribution of construction in 2023 was below that of 2018. We are going nowhere. There is no construction boom. And we know this because we see the record of the minister and the Ministry of Housing under his watch or under their watch. We see it. People are not moving into homes. So nothing is happening in this country to improve the lot of Barbadians. But you have a situation where on the world market, the price of oil has been below the price of oil in September 2023 when the price went to $4.22 per liter. Sustained for 14 months, but yet consumers are not being felt for and considered in this equation. I am going to repeat it so that you get it. In December of 2023, December last year, the price of oil on the international market went to around $77 US a barrel. I read a newspaper article on September 25th in the Nation newspaper that said the price of a barrel of oil was around $72.24 US. Why haven't the government reduced the price at the pump to you? They're not responding, so I can answer for them. Every single cent that they're shielding during COVID, they intend to get back into their coffers. Every cent. The deficit of almost $1 billion that they have to fill, that is how they're all filling it. Raping you, taxpayers, hard-working citizens. No, the government wants to reset. They haven't even started to impact the lives of Barbadians, so there's no resetting, and they still have without apology. And it is not a political issue in so much that it's an issue that affects every Barbadian. But I will share some facts also. And I will make it political, a little political this evening. I am told that when the Democratic Labour Party came to office in 2008, they found a Barbados National Oil Company Limited on the brink of debt service. On the brink. And they were borrowing money to pay for the importation of fuel. It was unsustainable. And the government, under David Thompson, decided to make some adjustments that were sustainable and that made sense and brought fairness into this equation of the cost of fuel to consumers. The government set rates for the government through BNOCL set rates for the importer, rates for the marketers, rates for the retailers, rates, specific rates, not percentages that fluctuated. And it applied those rates to the imported cost of fuel to then determine what consumers will pay. And that was done so that if the price on the international market and the imported price reduced, that the carrying government that it was could pass on those reductions to the people that are consuming the product. If the price went up, you would expect and then it'll increase. But isn't that fair? It sets systems in place to repay the debt. And you know, 60 years after we still have a BNOCL, because of strategic decisions to save that entity. But we have a regime, we're going back now to a regime with this government who wants to set the price, remove transparency, remove fairness, and most of all, release you of pressure, of financial pressure. Price of oil going down, but not ease to you. You are not worthy enough. Now, we don't know if they decided as a policy to not have the same mechanism that we put in place. They are silent on the issue because all the data shows that consumers in Barbados are afforded an ease at the pump. And you deserve an ease at the pump. So this issue will not be left alone, not by myself or not by the Democratic Labour Party. Now, to the issue of food and prices of food, etc. But before I get there, we need to put into context, and we should for just a couple of minutes, that we do not believe in the Democratic Labour Party that cost of living is only about gas and the price of chicken. I spoke about the price of transportation. There's also the issue of the price of housing, whether it is mortgages or rents, even the price of land, the price of tuition. So there are a lot of different factors that we can get into. But I mentioned the fact that the Minister of Business was asked to stand at the conference yesterday to a rousing applause because they have a price app. As far as I'm aware, they have already said that you can go to the website, the consumer's website, and you can see the prices of products. They have put it, I've searched, I've never seen it, but they have put it now in a more sophisticated way that you can go and see where to buy Pampers from, who's selling Pampers 2 cents higher or $4 cheaper. A government in its annual conference who does not address how they are going to deal with reducing prices in this country, who were in partnership with the private sector, who has now said to them, no, we out, you're on your own, who have reduced them now to saying that, some businesses are unfair and others are fair, and I don't know how we're going to deal with it. But as a minister, that is what you are getting. You are getting a minister that is either silent or a minister that is either silent or very absent from the realities that you face. And again, I say, why? Why would a minister take such an approach as relates to not passing on savings to consumers, not shielding consumers, or not even being aggressive enough to put things in place to shield consumers? And I don't mean to be unfair, but when you do not have to face constituents, when you do not have to walk up and down and knock on houses, ask for vote, and respond to questions, you get these sort of things. Look at where the current minister is situated. You don't have to see her outside of the Senate. She don't go to the parish speaks. She don't go knock on the doors, the canvas, and the vote. She does not have to face you. So she doesn't have to answer to you. She will answer to the boss lady. And if she's asking for the boss lady, that means the boss lady does not have your interests at heart either. Because you cannot feel that you have done something for consumers by telling them where to shop. This is what I want to challenge the minister to do. We would like to know, for every product listed on that website, what was the price in 2018? What is the price today? And how did the price get there? Was there a change in duty structure? Was there a change in import price? The government has at its disposal what everything in Barbados is imported at. Tell us what the prices were at 2018, where they are now, what is the variance, and investigate why. If the margins have not changed, why is everything else changing? We want this government that when the private sector comes to tell you to brace for price increases at Christmas, to say no, 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 no. Justify why. Justify why it has to be that way. Don't just come and put us on our guard. Don't do that. The role of the government is to keep these things in check, not to report findings. They're not a PR machinery for the private sector or retailers. Tell me why, Mr. Retailer. Why do we have to move the price of this product? Or why do you anticipate an increase? And we will investigate. If it is valid, well, it is valid. If it is not, this is not valid. Because there are indicators that are telling us that these statements are not valid. But with a government that does not have checks and balances, that we are exposed. I feel for the consumers of this country. When the government promises that prices in the country will go down after the removal of the NSRL. And prices have not gone down, not even in the year that the NSRL was repealed. Not even a day after. Sorry, not even 30 days after, when those adjustments would have kicked in. And you don't have to take my word. The Barbados Statistical Service will tell you what the price index is or was in those periods. And the prices continue to raise. You know why? Let me tell you why. Because this government implemented a measure that is supposed to benefit you, but did not monitor it. Put nothing in place to say that it is working or it is not working, fix it. I want you to know, right? The NSRL imposed a tax of 10%. I think it was 10%. 10% at the port. A significant contribution to the price of goods is what we were told. We have not even seen a 6 or 4 or 5%. Let me say that costs will continue to rise, but the offset is not 10%. Offset is a reduction in 6%. At least you can live with that. We have not seen any analysis. What you have been asked to do is to continue to pay more, and then with the loss of revenue, which by the way would have been around $800 million, you then were asked to substitute it with all these other taxes that I spoke about. Taxation is a very important part of cost of living crisis, and how a government responds to or contributes to. And what we are seeing in the government is contributing significantly to the cost of living crisis in this country. You heard Verla speak about new taxes on the horizon for commercial vehicles. This is what we are faced with. We're not developing anything. We're not producing more. Furthermore, prior to 2018, we could have gone online. We could have looked at our process with our productivity index. Cannot find it anywhere now. I challenge them to share it. Comrades, I say to you that this government has a major role to play. When inflation, and I would say the inflation is going up all over the world, they have to respond. You promised to reduce the value-added tax. You did not. I shared with you earlier that they added to the value-added tax. They are making their money off of the backs of inflation, and again, they have a gap to fill, a financial gap to fill. Every opportunity to exploit taxpayers and consumers will be taken, in addition to excessive borrowing. I'll wrap up, and I'll say this to you in wrapping up. We have also heard that we have reserves, more reserves than we had. More reserves. And I am saying to you that I understand that if, as a country, our reserves are low and we have to get them at an acceptable level, we have to do that. But to move our reserves 3 or 4 times beyond the standard with borrowed money is putting significant unnecessary pressure to everybody in this room, everybody at home watching, and all your families and friends. Just to say that for bragging rights, it's for bragging rights. And in another discussion, I will go through with you some of the financial issues that can be adjusted to ease Barbadians. This is about reducing the amount of interest we have to pay. The less interest we have to pay as a country means what? The less deficit we have to carry, the less taxation, the more ease that can come to take care of ourselves and our families. We are no better off than we were in 2018. The last 5 pages in the Central Bank report, about 5 lines out of the 5 pages are better off. Specific things are better off because we have borrowed money. We have not grown this economy. We are not seeing the benefits even of this unemployment reducing. And we are going to connect the dots. The Democratic Party is going to connect the dots so you can see the misinformation coming from the Barbados Party. So, comrades, viewers at home, thank you so much. I just want to impart on you that it must be understood that government intervention is necessary to help shield and protect consumers from this cost of living crisis. An excuse that it is a global crisis is not a good excuse. Use what you have at your disposal to make those adjustments on behalf of the people of this country. I thank you.
Thank you, Senator Waters. I'm sure you agree with me that he was on point. Do you agree with me? Yes. And he spoke about these skyrocketing prices. And I'm sure that you here, sitting here in front of me, and you, those persons who are watching online, can attest to that. We have situations where fuel prices, in terms sometimes, you may have to put on your car, you go in the supermarket, And it seems like you're having a little 2 cents or 3 cents being added on to commodities each time. You also mentioned the price up, and I mean, I think everybody knows that the few places like Cherish and Poplar, those places that we need to go where we can find a reduction in prices or some sort of deal. Spoke about the $1.5 billion taxes, and I'm sure you'll also like to find out where is that money going, because we don't see it being spent. We don't see the jobs that we're looking for. So that's a question to I'm sure that he's gonna look into a little bit more. All right, at this point in time, I'm going to ask, we have our Senator Andrew Worrell. Andrew Worrell is an influential figure within the Democratic Labour Party, known for his strategic approach, governance, and community development. His work often emphasizes infrastructure improvement and sustainable economic growth. Worrell has been involved in various initiatives aimed at enhancing the quality of life for Barbadians, focusing on both urban and rural development. Background has equipped him with the skills to implement effective policies that drive progress and accountability. Senator Andrew Worrell has a reputation for his pragmatic and results-oriented approach to politics. His background in business has provided him with the tools to address economic challenges facing Barbados. Worrell is particularly focused on infrastructure development, believing that improved transportation and public services are vital tools for economic growth. He has been involved in various public-private partnerships that aim to enhance the country's infrastructure while ensuring sustainability. Stability, all right, with various stakeholders, including business leaders and community groups, has made him a very key player in the development of effective politics. I welcome Senator Andrew.
Thank you, Nathaniel, and good evening to the members of the Democratic Labour Party, and in particular those of you who are joining the broadcast online as well. I am indeed honored to be here this afternoon in this very calm environment where we can speak to members and we can talk about what the Democratic Labour Party is doing and how we are moving forward. So you need to give a clap for that. I also want to thank Senator Ryan Walters for holding down the fort and giving us a very good account of all of the wrongdoings which are happening within the country, especially from an economic perspective. And I will join Ryan any day that he decides to call a march to get the gas prices reduced. I will join him because it is burning a hole in my pocket. But my responsibility here this afternoon as the president of the Democratic Labour Party is to give to you an account of the performance of the party. Now, we all know that this year started out very rocky for us, and we went through a very tense period for the party. But I want to thank all of you members, dear loving members of the Democratic Labour Party, who remain committed to the party, who took the time to read the constitution of the party and allow that to be your guide, who understood the vision of Errol Walton Barrow and all of those other persons who founded the Democratic Labour Party and recognized that this party, this institution is still relevant to the people of Barbados, especially at a time like this, when many Barbadians don't even feel like second-class citizens in their own country. We have been downgraded even further. We may now be fourth or fifth-class citizens in our country, and we do not feel as though this country is working for us and for the benefit of the people of Barbados. And that is why you need to have the voice of the Democratic Labour Party doing what it is supposed to be doing, representing the people of Barbados. and speaking out on the issues of the people of Barbados, as Ryan did just now, outlining the problems in the economy and the cost of living in Barbados, and how many of us don't feel comfortable in our communities because of the increased violence. As Vice President Felicia Dujon pleads to do better for the children of Barbados. She is an absolute ambassador for young people, for the children of Barbados, and for teachers. That is what the people need to hear from the Democratic Labour Party, and there are more. We have the issues within the healthcare sector. I described it on Friday as a nightmare in Barbados. That's how many Barbadians feel, not only at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, but in the polyclinics, every single aspect of the healthcare sector. We did a community connection yesterday in St. Michael's Central, and one of the major complaints by the people was the bush and the mosquitoes in the area, because they're not seeing the environmental health officers. Ask yourself the question, when last have you seen an environmental health officer in your community? You don't, because this government, because of their IMF program, have dwindled down every single department in Barbados to bare bones, so that the health officers, the numbers are at their lowest. They're not hiring people to fill the posts, and you know the health officers have a wider catchment area to service. So they can't come to you every 3 months as they used to before. If you see them once a year, you see them more than they're able to. And as a result of that, the amount of bush that is growing around the country, the number of areas where the water is settling, breeding mosquitoes, breeding rodents, and they want to say that they care for the people of Barbados, who is really taking care of us. And the Democratic Labour Party needs to put that question out there to the people. Who is taking care of us? And that is why we had to go through the transition that we did in August of this year. Because it happened because the members of the party were not satisfied. These issues did not start with our political leader and the leader of the opposition, Conrad Ralph Horn. They predated him by more than a year. Members were concerned that you were not hearing the Democratic Labour Party and its spokesperson speak to national issues, bread and butter issues, which touch and concern the people of Barbados. We did not put up a fight for anything. When it came to independence and turn it to a republic, we did not put up a fight to that. And now we are complaining because we have Republic Day, but the Republic being trying to be celebrated on Independence Day. But the Democratic Labour Party, we will always celebrate our Independence Day on the 30th of November. And later on, I will speak to you about how we intend to own November and celebrate our independence for the entire month of November, something that many Barbadians take pride in. We were not hearing anything when the workers were being assaulted and the numbers were being reduced and dwindled. We heard nothing. We did not hear anything about when the quality of care at the hospitals was deteriorating. We did not hear anything then about the issues with water in places like St. Lucie, but we are hearing it now because you have persons like Alvin Toppin, who is doing a program in St. Lucie. Couple Saturdays ago with our Vice President Shaquani Hunt, we went into St. Lucie to distribute water, not just so that we can also hear the concerns of the people of St. Lucie. Projects like that is what the Democratic Labour Party needs to concern itself with, and let people of Barbados know that we are the ones who are willing to take care of them. We are willing to address their issues. So when we went out there, we heard from people who are paying water bills that still have to spend at least $300 a month, some as much as $800 a month to buy water to drink, to buy water to make a cup of tea, to buy water to cook with, because what is being supplied to them at the tap in their house by the Barbados Water Authority is not of adequate quality. They can't wash their white linens with it because they will all turn brown. These are the things that the Democratic Labour Party needs to speak to and address, and we have been addressing it. The crime situation in Barbados, we have been addressing that too. Under the leadership of our political leader, a crime commission was formed, chaired by Comrade Verla de Pisa, and it is doing an excellent job. It has met every single week since it was formed in July. Right now, it is at the stage where it is dealing with the fine details of its report and will be ready to report to the people of Barbados. We are not napping. We are not sitting down doing nothing. We are not twiddling our thumbs. We are not selling out this party to the highest bidder. We are ready to represent the people of Barbados and the interests of the people of Barbados. And where we see that there is a problem, an issue that needs to be addressed, we are going to address it. We are not going to be concerned about who will stop paying us or who will withhold funds from us, because at the end of the day, Barbadians need to feel safe and secure in their country, and as though they have a right to speak up and a right to agitate, and also a right to say no if you feel that you're being violated and victimized. We need to speak up and lead the charge for the people of Barbados, and that is what the Democratic Labour Party is doing. So let me just come down off of that ladder for a little bit and speak to some administrative issues as to what the party has been doing. Now, you know about the court battle. I don't need to go through that. You know about the expulsion. I don't need to go through that. We had to take the decision to expel two persons from the party who held top positions, who were stifling the party from going forward. And even though the General Council of the party brought disciplinary charges against them, they did not respect the process. They put a lot of misinformation out there, which would have swayed a few people. But I am thankful that the ones who benefited from the education of Errol Walton Barrow saw the truth, and they stuck to their guns, and they stood up for the principles and the values of the Democratic Labour Party, that the Democratic Labour Party cannot be a plaything of the Barbados Labour Party. The Democratic Labour Party is its own political party in its own right, and do not have to wait on anybody to tell us what to say. We say what is in the interests of the people of Barbados. Nobody can tell us that the schools are doing well when every single week a different school is shutting down because of environmental issue. But you cannot stifle Felicia Dujon. She was speaking out against those things. You cannot bring things to the people of Barbados and try to fool them. We have a political leader in the House of Assembly, Ralph Thorne, that if he recognized that the Prime Minister herself does not know the laws of this country and has done things to breach the Constitution of this country, as she did with the whole cat on the table, the Tate, when we were supposed to be dealing with serious crime issues, you put her in her place and let her know that she is wrong, and then she had to back down from it. That is because of the agitation of our political leader and the leader of the opposition, Ralph Thorne. That is what you're supposed to be there for. to let them know when they are wrong, and to let the people of Barbados know there is someone looking out for you. There is someone ready for you, ready to take on leadership in this country. If we did not deal with that problem in August the way that we dealt with it, we would still be in turmoil here today. But you have recognized that since August, the party has settled down. But it settled down, but it is not quiet. It settled down, but it has become focused. Focus on the issues of Barbados and focus on representing the people. So that is why I can tell you that the executive committee met a couple of weeks ago, and we discussed putting in place a candidate selection committee and sending out to all the branches that they need to start identifying their candidates, because we intend to name our candidates soon. So our General Secretary, Pedro Shepherd, is working, and he has the free hand to do the work. He don't have nobody telling him that all you're supposed to do is to think about is to clean up the grass or to sweep up the leaves. Nobody is telling him that no more. The executive, the general council of the Democratic Labour Party has mandated that we put our candidates in place, and we have done that. We have a few branches, and I saw some people walking here, and I'm hoping that they can say that St. James South had their AGM this evening. You did? All right, so St. James South had their AGM this evening. We still have a few branches who have not had their AGMs because they were told maliciously and wickedly by some people not to hold their AGMs in June when they were constitutionally due. So we still have a few branches who have not had their AGMs, but we are working on that. St. James South had their meeting this evening, and I am saying that by the 5th of November, all of those branches who have not yet had their AGMs will have their AGMs on the 5th of November, if that's a Sunday, so that when we're celebrating our independence activity on the 30th of November, we can come here to George Street and say that we have 30 functioning branches with executive and committees of management, so that they can then start the process of candidate selection. Now, we've had to make a few changes because of the expulsions. Obviously, there were vacancies. I assumed the position of the president of the party, and Pedro assumed the position of the general secretary of the party. And these positions were confirmed at the last general council meeting because we're still in the process of dealing with the resolutions from conference. So these positions were confirmed by the last general council, so we are no longer using the title of acting president and acting general secretary. The general council voted that we should remain in the positions until August 2025, when the party is due to elect a new officers for the party. So I want to say thank you to the members of the General Council for your confidence in Pedro and myself for doing that, and we are ready to work for the Democratic Labour Party, continue to do the work. Now, as a result of that, we would have had a few vacancies. Now, one of those vacancies came about as a result of the resignation of the former treasurer, Mr. Jeff Shepherd, from the position of treasurer. So I want it to be clear, he did not resign from the party. And I would also want to say that he was very cordial in it. He has had, I don't want to disclose all of his business, but he has been having some challenges, those of you who know him, and it was in his best interest to take on less responsibility. So he came to conference and he delivered the his report, the treasurer's report, and he informed me that he would be resigning at the end of August. So I also want to take this opportunity to thank Jeff for the period of time that he served as the treasurer of the party. And he has also served as the treasurer of the St. Michael's South Central branch for a number of years as well. So I want to thank Jeff for his service. So as a result of that, we would have had a vacancy of a treasurer on the executive and the general counsel who, by the constitution, can fill those vacancies, elected James Paul as the treasurer for the party. And as a result of Pedro being promoted from assistant secretary to general secretary, we had a vacancy of assistant secretary. And our comrade Julie Austin, who many of you know, but she's here so she can stand and take a bow, was elected as the assistant secretary of the party. Now, Julie is an asset to this party because she has been around the party for a very long time. She knows the ins and outs from when she worked in the office back in the day when it used to be over in the other building. So she knows the ins and outs of this party. So she is really an asset as the general secretary, assistant secretary, and she's currently one of the persons on the committee and steering the charge for our luncheon, which is coming up on the 24th, our Independence Day family luncheon coming up on the 24th of November. So I'm certain that you will see messages from Julie about tickets, advertising it, and she definitely helps to keep the ship steady. So that was one position. So congrats to Comrade Julie Austin. And as a result of my elevation to president, there was a vacancy for vice president. And I would want to say a little bit about the person who filled that vacancy. She was elected at the last general council meeting. That is Comrade Shaquani Hunt, who is a very outstanding young lady. Shaquani is also president of the Young Democrats. Now, by training and by interest, she is a creative person by training. But I really think that by heart, she's a social worker. Because Shaquani is the sort of person that is very passionate and committed about helping persons. She would have organized back in 2020 when St. John was having the water challenges, along with Kemar Stewart, we distributed water in St. John as well. So she has been the driving force behind that water distribution program in St. Lucie and a number of other things as well. She's also one of the driving forces behind the restoring of the Ask the B Watts lunchtime lectures. And over the last couple of weeks, we have had some very informative lectures. First by Jack Broom, and then the second lecture by Comrade Carol Jordan, who's also the president of the Women's League. And we didn't have a lecture last week, but I understand that we should be having a lecture this week, so that flyer would come out. So those of you who have the time to be here on Fridays when we have the lecture, come to George Street, sit down and enjoy the lecture and enjoy the lunch, which is prepared for you as well. So we are doing things that the people of Barbados want to see happening. And I want to thank all of those persons for coming on board and for working so that we can get our party up and running. Now, you know that we would have had some issues with the Young Democrats and the Women's League. So I'm happy to say today that both of those organizations held their AGMs and they have new committees of management. I mentioned that Shaquani is the president of the Young Democrats. I see one member of the executive here. I don't know if there are any others, but you can stand. Right. And these are young people. And then there's also Melissa, who's also a Young Democrat as well, and also a spokesperson for the party. All right. And there are other Young Democrats I have. But I am happy to say that the Young Democrats is reorganized and it is going places. Right now, Shaquani is not here with us because she has been given the opportunity she's also on the BYDC to represent Barbados at a conference in Samoa. She has also recently been awarded a scholarship for women in politics. So she is going places. This is a young lady to watch. This is a young lady who knows what she's about, who stands on principle, who will not be tossed and turned by the blowing wind. She stands on principle and is rooted within the Democratic Labour Party. So I want to applaud persons like Shaquani. And the Women's League have also reorganized as well. I mentioned that Carol Jordan is the president. I believe the PRO was here, Shirley Ford. And there's also Margot Harvey. I'm not certain if you're on the executive. Right, what position? Margot Harvey, vice chairman, so please take a stand. And I am certain you heard the Women's League even before they were organized defending the party. So I know that they're capable of doing the work for the party, and you will hear more from them as time goes on. So those are some of the things that we have been doing in the party. We are organized, we are focused. On the political leader side, he will speak next, so I will not steal his thunder. He organizes spokespersons. We are organized and we are focused. On the administrative side of the party, let me speak about Independence 2024, our 58th anniversary of independence. We took a decision that this party needs to celebrate independence. That is part of the legacy of the Democratic Labour Party. And we intend to lead the charge in doing so. So from the 1st of November, I want to invite all of you back here to George Street on the 1st of November for our first independence activity, which is a sunset and chill. We've already started to do it informally, where some Friday nights we will have lines here, but we want to brand them sunset and chill lines here at DLP. So the first one will be on the 1st of November. You know what happens on the 1st of November? They normally light up the place. But they have the ceremony in front of Parliament where you turn on the lights across Barbados. But we are going to come to George Street in our blue, our yellow, and our black, and we are going to mingle amongst each other, and we are going to start our independence celebration. We will then continue to roll on. The lunchtime lectures we'll be having on Fridays, and then on the 9th of November, we are going out for a cricket tournament sponsored by the political leader. Can't remember, is the Ralph Thorne Classics. This is a fun cricket tournament. So that will be on the 9th of November. On the 16th of November, we want to have a flea market and market day here at George Street with a number of other activities. We want to find out who amongst us is the best chef. So we're going to have a cook-off competition here. We're going to have a health and wellness day. We are going to invite persons to come, pay for stall space, and if you have things to sell, a flea market. So from clothing, food items, normal treats that you will get around Independence, your conkeys, your pone. I would even call the name Black Bitch because you don't see it too often, but I would like to get some. Y'all know what Black Bitch is? It's a confectionery. And you don't see it in Barbados too often. So anybody who does Black Bitch, you don't even have to pay for the stall space. Just bring your tray and set it up. That is compliments to the President of the Democratic Labour Party. So we are going to invite all of Barbados to come here for a fun day on the 16th of November, flea market fun day. We then, on the 24th of November, we have a church service on Sunday morning. And then we come back here to DLP headquarters for a family luncheon. The tickets are ready. You can get your tickets from Julie Austin or from in the office. And guess what? You can even purchase the tickets online. So tickets are $65 for adults and $25 for children. We will have a full Bajan buffet, including ham, pork, macaroni pie,
Of course.
you have rice and peas, veg rice. We are even having something for the vegans, lentil pie. So everybody will be included, along with the normal treats, cake and ice cream for desserts as well as the local beverages such as golden apple juice, ginger beer, all of those things. And we also will be entertaining the spirits as well. And we will put out information that you can pre-order your wine bottles for your table. And if you want to go a little higher to the whiskey, you can pre-order that as well for your table, so that we will be enjoying a feast here at George Street. So I want to invite all of you to make sure that you are here, that all through this auditorium will be filled out with tables, and every single seat will be filled. And even if you have to get things and put some outside to accommodate persons, we are willing to do it. The food will be prepared by members of the party working together to prepare the food so that we will be ready for you for lunch. So that is on the 24th. Now, you know that we have been utilizing the auditorium for renting it out to different persons. So we want to bring something new to the auditorium. We are going to be having a road tennis match in here. You see there's a tape there on the floor. So all you need basically is to draw out the court on the floor so that you can have road tennis in here. And you see we have balconies up there that nobody is using. I want on that night, those nights when we have road tennis, that those balconies are filled with spectators. And you have people on the floor so that you come to George Street in a relaxed environment. Remember that? Relaxed environment, because it was taped for too long. So we want to have a relaxed environment and come and enjoy yourself. Fill up the balcony, watch road tennis, and hopefully it is something that will pick up, that other road tennis matches will come here to George Street. So those will be on at least 2 nights. We will also be having a bingo night. That should be on the 27th of November. And then we will end off the Independence celebration with a cocktail sip on Friday, the 29th of November. Now, for that cocktail sip, the Young Democrats will also be working on a competition within the schools, an essay, art, and a photo competition. When I was the president of the Young Democrats moons ago, I would have done a similar competition where we opened it up to students to participate in that competition. And out of that, we got new members for the Young Democrats, because the person who I remember won the photo competition, he joined the Young Democrats and was an active member for years. He was also a DJ, so whenever we had meetings or anything, that the music was there, the setup and everything. So these are the ways that we engage with people. We want to hear what our young people are thinking. So that's why we are having the essay, art, and photo competition, to give them an opportunity to express themselves about what is going on in Barbados, because we need to be concerned, know what they're thinking, and how they see the future of Barbados for them. So that will be done. And I also want to say that we still have friends and we still have benefactors, because the awards for that competition have all been donated, including cash awards. What we would have done this is still October, but from September, we engage with persons within the diaspora. And we have a champion working for us within the diaspora, and I hope I have the privilege to call her name. A lady by the name of Sue Harris, Sue and Barclay Harris, husband and wife, they live in the US, and they spearheaded on our behalf a drive to get family members, our party supporters living in the US, to donate things to the party so that all of the cutlery, the plates, knives, and forks for the luncheon, we created a list of our needs, and they shared it with persons in the US, and these persons purchased the things from Amazon, shipped them to Sue, and then Sue arranged the shipment of the package to Barbados. And I can say that the package left the US on the 15th of October, which was the deadline date for it to leave the US so that it could reach here. So that's something that we can applaud about. We still have people who are willing to work with and give to the Democratic Labour Party. So the tablets, which will be the prizes for the competition, those have been donated. The cash prizes for the competition, that has been donated. All of the cutlery that we need to use for the luncheon, those have been donated. All of the tablecloths for the luncheon, those have been donated. All of the lights which we will use to decorate George Street for Independence and Christmas, those items have been donated, as well as things that we can put in to gift bags for children for Christmas. Those things have been donated. So I want to thank all of those persons who responded to the call. Majority of them are persons in the diaspora, and I hope that they're listening. We thank you, and we are grateful for your support. And we are hoping that anytime that you are in Barbados, that we can celebrate you, or that we can meet with you whenever we travel to the diaspora. We are working to get our overseas branches up and running. Conrad Burla de Pisa, as a former president, has been charged with that responsibility to organize the overseas branches. The UK branch is up and running and working well, and they have committed to sending their own cash donation to the party towards the activities. But we need to get our Canadian branch, and I want to extend condolences to the former president of the Canadian branch who would have lost her mother. So we extend condolences to her. And once her period of bereavement and she's ready to take up the mantle, we will reorganize the Canadian branch. And also we are in the process of getting our US branch back up and running so that we will have elections for those two branches, that they will have a committee of management in place. So the party is not dead. It did not die. Quite frankly, it is alive and possibly more vibrant than it has been over the last couple of years. So we have something to clap about. We have something to celebrate. And over the next couple of months, we want to get the party reorganized. The committee is in the process of getting the changes to the bank account, because obviously you would have had a number of changes, so we are getting that done so that our banking process can be regulated and back up and running. So we are working on those things. And we are putting together plans for the better management of the office as well as the auditorium. And we putting in place a committee to deal with the upkeep of the party. So we maintain it and don't allow things to run down. There's still some work needed to be done, and we're going to do that because we want to beautify George Street so that when you come here, you feel comfortable and you feel relaxed, and the persons who are utilizing the venue for weddings and other functions, that they feel comfortable and relaxed. So I want to encourage you to support the Democratic Labour Party. If you can give to the office and make your donations, monetary donations to the party or to any activity that we are having. When we put out the appeal for water, organize with your branches. Everybody don't need to buy a case of water, but some of you can put together and buy a few cases on behalf of the branch and bring those to George Street so that we will have those to be able to distribute. But we have a good team because that room down there, we left here that morning with 3 trucks filled with water. We had a chain of young people just bringing the water that was donated out of the room and piling them onto the trucks. So we are doing things and things are happening. So I want for you to take that knot from George Street into your branches and make sure that your branches meet on a monthly basis. Every month does not have to be a political meeting. Some months you can have a social to get to know who are the members of the Democratic Labour Party, what are their needs and what are their concerns, and get to know the residents of your constituency. Do those things and keep the branch alive. Have a games night sometime. You don't always need to have a speaker and a political meeting, but maybe arrange to meet at a bar or shop within the constituency and play dominoes amongst yourself or play cards, have a few drinks and mingle with persons. Those are the things that we need to do to keep the image of the Democratic Labour Party alive. And I also say to you, do not let anybody pull down this party. Stand up and represent it. And if anybody is saying things about your party that you know is not true, speak the truth to them. And the best way to speak the truth to them is to share the positive news of what is happening within the Democratic Labour Party. When we have these town hall meetings, when we have the public briefings, when we do our community connections, come out on Saturdays and be a part of that and hear what people are saying, because Barbadians are sick and tired of the government which was elected in 2018. They're no longer falling for the tricks. They want to see change, and they just want to know that the Democratic Labour Party is steady, is focused, and it is ready to take on the mantle of leadership of the people of Barbados. Are we ready to do that? Are we ready to do that? Are we committed to the people of Barbados? And that is what the Democratic Labour Party is for. That is what Barrow would want for us. So I thank you, and I appreciate all of you for staying with the Democratic Labour Party, for standing on principles and on values and speaking out in the interest of the people of Barbados. And I appreciate your support, and I am ready to work with you and get out into the constituency and meet and hear the needs of the people of Barbados. I thank you.
Thank you, Senator Worrell. Senator Worrell would have spoken to you about the performance of the LP. As we all know, we had some obstacles in our way. Those obstacles are moved. The people on the ground, they want us to get our act together. We have done that. We are moving forward. We are moving forward. We must ask ourselves the question, who is taking care of us? Who really cares? And I'm sure that these questions, we know what is happening, that the government does not care. All right, we can see it in our everyday living. I know that recently we had Alvin moving around in St. Lucie, but also I was been to St. George, and they too have some problems too with water discoloration in their communities. I will also join in Andrea and say, please don't be distracted. Okay, this indoctrination that is happening. Okay, it's time that we, as citizens of Barbados, we wake up and we think for ourselves. At this point in time, we have with us our political leader, the Honorable Ralph Thorne, PhD, a seasoned politician and a key member of the Democratic Labour Party. With a background in law, Thorne has served in various capacities, including as a senator where he has contributed to debates on crucial national issues. He is recognized for his analytical skills and commitment to public service, advocating for policies that promote social equity and justice. Thorne's extensive experience in governance has made him a respected voice within the party and the broader community. Honorable Ralph Thorne is known for his deep understanding of legal and constitutional matters, which has informed his work as a senator and party member. He has been an outspoken advocate for civil rights and social justice, often addressing issues related to governance and accountability. Torrance' contribution in the Senate, I know these are, well, the only seat we have in the Parliament, have included debates on important legislation affecting Barbadians, and he has worked tirelessly to ensure that the voices of his constituents are heard. His legal expertise and commitment to the public service have made him a respected figure in both the Democratic Labour Party and also the broader community. At this point in time, I'm going to invite the Honourable Ralph Thorne, KC, to come to the podium. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chairman Nathaniel, and good evening to all of you. A real pleasure sharing the platform with Verla, who had to go off to an event at which she's the patron. With us as well as Senator Andre Worrell, and I was quite delighted to hear the report that he has given on past events and on future events. And he returned to his seat, my good friend, Senator Ryan Walters, and asked me if he had spoken too long. Well, you're telling the truth, you will go on for a while. So I thank Senator Ryan for the excellent delivery that he's given here this evening. And you're going to be hearing a lot more from this young man, not Senator, I beg your pardon. He put me in the Senate, but I was never in the Senate. Nathaniel Boyce. And President, I want to ask your permission to say that this young man, Mr. Nathaniel Boyce, will be heard a lot from across a place called St. Michael South. I want your permission to do that. To tell the people of Barbados that Mr. Nathaniel Boyce, this young man, is going to be heard a lot from in Barbados and in St. Michael South. In St. Michael South. Because there's a time coming when, as President said, we're going to have to tell the people of this country, we're going to have to tell the people of this party, but more importantly, we are going to have to tell the people of this country who will be our standard bearers when the time comes. And it doesn't fall to me to do it. But I somehow believe that this young man, called Nathaniel Boyce, that if and when we go and hold a meeting in Lane's Road Stall, a traditional stomping ground for this party, that Nathaniel, we're going to hear from you. And I say to President Worrell this evening that, you know, there's a spirit in here this evening. And there's such a spirit that I felt that we should have been outdoors. That we should have been under the stars in this good weather. That perhaps, Nathaniel, would you invite us to, it's called Lanes Road, up by Miss Grant's shop, where the great DLP used to meet and have a spirit. And tonight we feel the spirit of His Excellency Walter Barrow here. We feel that spirit. And we feel the spirit of Bramford Mayhew Tate. And we feel the spirit of James Cameron Tudor. And we feel the spirit of Lloyd Erskine Sandyford. And I call those names in response to a young man who visits the radio station and tries to tell this party that those names have no meaning, no connection, as Derek says. And this is the same voices. A man who tells you that this party should have nothing to do with Barrow is a man who probably disregards his grandfather and his grandmother. I don't know how you say that we should have nothing to do with His Excellency Errol Walton Barrow and still say that your grandmother and your great-grandmother and your great-grandfather and your grandfather mean something to you. Every building stands on its foundation. And we understand what is the foundation of this building. Not only the physical foundation, but the human foundation. We know why we stand. Legacy, that's the word. We know why we stand here this evening. We know that what is the legacy that we bear. And it did not begin with us. The foundation was built in 1956. And we cannot dishonor 1956. We honor our grandparents and our great-grandparents. And we will never dishonor our political grandparents who built this foundation, who built this modern Barbados, who made this place a democracy. We will never forget them. So all those cynical voices across the radio stations and the call-in programs of this country who want to convince us that this party in this modern Barbados should have nothing to do with the name Errol Walton Barrow. We say to them that as long as there's something called a Democratic Labour Party, the name Errol Barrow, whose spirit we feel here this evening, will mean something to us because we understand building. And I say and I repeat that no building stands firm unless it has a strong and a firm foundation. And there is no apology in calling the name Errol Walton Barrow here this evening. And I urge every member of this party, in whatever role you play, within the constituencies, as some of us went to St. Michael's Central yesterday, Ellerton the week before, St. Lucie the week before, to let Barbadians know what is our foundation, to let Barbadians know that this mission, this journey, did not begin with us, that we stand here because others stood here. This very building, we did not build this. People like, I call him Menzies Chase. I don't call him any Clyde Chase, Menzies. And he knows why I call him Menzies. I call him Menzies after his father, one of the heroes of the 1937 riot. Messiah asked Clyde Chase to reject the legacy that his father gave him by standing up for the rights of people, poor people, working class people in this country as far back as 1937. So that when I see him, I don't call him Clyde, I call him Menzies in honor of his father, who is a hero in this country, who in the 1937 riots, and we have to tell the young people these things. We have to tell the young people what the 1937 riots meant for this country. That there was abject poverty in this country. That we could not even meet in this place. We didn't have that privilege. We did not even have a presence in the parliament. A genuine presence in the parliament that represented the interests of working class people in this country. And it was at the riots that things in Barbados began to turn, not by the commission of violence by rioters, but because these brave men and women had the courage to take a stand in defense of the rights of working class people. And all of us in this room tonight whether we like it or not, are the descendants of those brave men and women. Derek is saying the word struggle. Who struggled for us? It did not begin with us. That's why I say, whenever we go into the public domain, whenever we come to meetings like this, and we will go, Nathaniel, to Lanes Road, and when we go to Lanes Road, we will recapture the spirit of the men who stood on those platforms, those modest platforms in Lanes Road, and preached the gospel for the emancipation of people like us. And it isn't that we bear anybody hatred, but we are too busy loving the working class people in this country. The people who bear the brunt of sacrifice, and I'm going to come to sacrifice in a very meaningful way. Over the last few days, you've heard of an organization called Fitch, one of these rating agencies. And they stand from afar in their ivory towers, and they transmit messages to a country. And they say to us how well we are doing. Sometimes they say to us, we're downgrading you. And sometimes they come to us and they say, we're upgrading you. And these are messages from economists. And they told you recently that Barbados has experienced an upgrade. That is an economic indicator. But what about the social indicator? And I want to suggest to Fitch and to you tonight that economic indicators mean nothing to a people unless you marry those economic indicators with social indicators. And you and I and all of Barbados tonight know what are the social indicators in this country. And if you want to know, open your WhatsApp. There has never been a worse crisis in education in this country than the crisis that is occurring now. We fought at Wesley Hall. We fought, Derek. We had our little fight. We lock off one another neck. And then, next lunchtime, we play cricket together. And I asked the good Lord not to put a knife in the hands of these children who are brutalizing each other. I can't watch the whole video. And it is happening on a daily basis. And I came to this platform just now and I talked about the spirit. A Lanes Road spirit, an Barrow spirit, a Brantford Tate spirit, a Sir James Cameron through the spirit. Thompson as well. Call the names of our heroes who not only built this party, but built this country. Sir James was an early Minister of Education. Sir Lloyd Erskine Standiford, an early Minister of Education. Mr. Walker, an early Minister of Education. What's that name, sir? Mr. Jones, Ronald Jones, an early Minister of Education. These men presided over an institution. And Felicia, please stand. Please stand. Please stand. Thank you very much. This is the lady they walk about criticizing this lady. Not understanding that Felicia is visiting those educational institutions on invitation by teachers who are afraid to speak, by parents who are afraid to speak. And Felicia Dujon, you have become the voice of those who are afraid to speak. That is why we have titled these meetings Honest Voices for the People. Felicia, thank you for being an honest voice for the children of this country who are now living in perilous times, who are going to school with knives and weapons, other weapons of war. The school used to be a place of learning. And you know, they're trying to blame everybody. They're blaming the parents. They're blaming the teachers. So from now, they're going to blame the people who sell mints outside the school. But the government is not to take any blame. No blame. And they say you can't politicize violence. The schools in this country, apart from the private schools, are run by the government. And anything that is happening in the schools, the government has to take responsibility. They must take responsibility. So reject those messages that it is not the government's responsibility to restore equilibrium and peace to the schools of this country. And I'm going to say something that somebody close to me told me not to say, but I want to say it. It is inside, honest voices for the people. And I asked the principal recently, but why y'all start off the school year with carnival? Why? Why y'all doing that? And he told me, it is an order that comes from the Ministry of Education. Look, an instruction. We used to have what we didn't call it any summer vacation, because I didn't know that they had a summer in Barbados when I was growing up. We used to call it long vacations. A long vacation, you run all about. And when school starts back, you had comb couldn't get through your hair, your skin 3 shades darker. Look, old people talk to these young people here. Tell them how Barbados was. Tell them that we did not have a lot, but we had a lot of love. We were happy. We didn't have the material things then that children have now, but we had a peaceful society. And the children have a lot now, but they don't have the most important thing. They don't have the love that feeds and shapes a peaceful society. And we give them the experience of crop over. And as we say in Barbados, they do bad. They do the dog. In August. But as the end of August approaches, the parents try to, as they did with us, calm us down, settle down. Life comes and goes in phases. And Derek, we used to be all about mangoes, golden apples, making our own toys. We couldn't go to Larry Dash or buy anything. Gooseberry. We had creativity. We had no money. Menzies, we had no money. But we were creative. And we were the children of creative people. And we were the grandchildren of the people who fought in the riots so that we could enjoy the freedoms that we did at that time. Where are the freedoms in this country now? Being suppressed by this government. But I come back to the start of the school year. Crop over. As I said, your term, Derek, they do the dog. But come the end of August, you mold the child. No culture. You mold the child. And you prepare that child for the school year. And I'm not embarrassed to admit that a lot of us did not like school. I like fun. I like to be home, Derek playing cricket in the road. And I told this young man I'm the best tennis player in this party, and he don't believe me. Road tennis. He's probably the best footballer. And today it is no different. We should be preparing our children for the experience of school. School is about
the word discipline. And the word discipline derives from the Latin word learning. And you don't learn while you're in revelry. Discipline is not about flogging people, you know. Discipline is an exercise of the mind in learning. And when you are in the process of learning, you subject yourself, even a child subjects itself, and I can use my grandmother's word, to the dominion of teachers and head teachers. And when the school year starts, you used to see some of the children, Graceville Primary, Wesley Hall, the new ones coming in, bawling, crying, because they had a sense that the fun of home had ended. And that they're going into this very regimented environment, structured, a serious environment. You were pulled away from your mother's bosom. And a lot of those children cried because they had a sense that they were in a place of discipline, of learning. Discipulous, I think is discipulous. Yes, that's the word. A Latin man for foundation, but I can talk about foundation. I have something to say about foundation just now, because it is not the foundation you knew. We're going to come to that. And so when these children subject themselves to the dominion, to the rule, to the authority of teachers, they had to be quiet. They had to understand that they weren't running up and down the street anymore. The fun had ended. And that shaped us. Structure and boundary. I love to make my speeches in Derek's presence. I only have to say half and he says the other half. Derek, don't leave. Today, I regret to say to you, and this is my personal opinion, Derek, as a parent, as a lawyer, and as your humble leader, and a Bajan, that it is my humble view that the start of the school year, that the Ministry of Education has ordered the teachers of this country is misconceived, misguided, and wrong. Backward. I don't care who gets money from it. If you want to employ the entertainers, bring them, change the curriculum, bring them in on afternoons, let them teach the music, lyrics writing, dance, costume making, stilt walking, poetry. Teach the arts as a part of the curriculum, but do not introduce these children to a serious school year with the nonsense of carnival and revelry. They misconceive what school is about. And somebody has to tell the truth. Somebody must lose the fear that has gripped this country. This country lives in a paralysis of fear. Everybody in this country, in spite of knowing the truth, everybody afraid of me, Martin. Somebody say not me. Only two people say not me. We want some more not me's. There are a lot of people in here. Everybody in this country afraid of me, Martin. Hey. I only heard five not me. Everybody in this country afraid of me, Martin.
Christ, not me.
Well, ma'am, your voice will go forth. Your voice will go forth. And our voices, our collective voice, the collective voice of this democratic party in representing the interests of the people of this country now says from tonight to me, Motley,
We are not afraid of you. And we will resist you. We will resist you in the interest of what is right, in the interest of what is moral, in the interest of justice, in the interest of the welfare of the children of this country, whom we have now subjected into the worst crisis that has visited the educational institutions in this country. And parents sit at home or at the workplace. And when the telephone rings and they look at the caller ID and it is the school, they tremble. Is my child injured? Has my child been in a fight? Do the police have my child? All this is school. Unheard of in this country. Unheard of in the educational system built by Sir James Cameron Tudor. Unheard of. And why are you so afraid? Let us be honest voices for the people. Are you still afraid of Mia Motley? Send a message. Send a message or come into the school hall. I'm coming to the school hall right now. Thanks for staying, Gary. Guide me. Guide me. And so the children of this country are being led not into classrooms of learning, but into cauldrons of violence. Our children. And they tell me the government must not take responsibility. When they introduce an entire spirit of revelry and violence and casting onto those young, impressionable minds, and then seek to persuade you, to convince you that they have no responsibility. And the Minister of Education with the deepest voice in Barbados, she wants to tell you that all of this is happening and she bears no responsibility. And when she condescends, she comes down on rare occasions to speak to the people of this country. Never, not a word of apology. Not a word of apology to the people of this country whose children live in peril of an educational system. 60% of the children in this country are leaving fifth form without certification. Don't blame her for that. But improve it. Improve it. And this government, like the ID cards, everything they propose. And before it fails, they change it. And they had suggested middle school for your little children. Schools of excellent nonsense, excellent fighting, excellent violence. Everything that they have proposed, this government. Any of you got the ID cards? It is not worth the plastic. The government withdrew it. And the government's plan for the children of this country was a plan, they told us 3 years consecutively, that they were going to abolish the 11 plus. Every year is next year. This government has this country in chaos. This government has the minds of the children in this country in chaos. And we're not joking with them. We're not joking with them. And I ask the question again, which of you is afraid to speak the truth? Which of you is afraid of me about me tonight? The numbers are increasing. When first I asked the question, I heard 2 and 3 voices. I thought that only 2 and 3 of us were gathered here tonight. Which of you is afraid of me about me? Which of you is afraid to tell the truth? Which of you intends to betray your children? Let us continue to speak for our children. And I will close on this incident at Foundation. Don't dismiss it as trivial. The painting of a school. Beg your pardon? Oh, was that him? Look, you know enough. Let me close on this. You know enough of your world history to know about Hitler. You know enough of your history, your world history, to have heard about Hitler. And you know enough of your world history to have heard of Mussolini. Hitler from Germany, Mussolini from Italy. And they were called dictators. Oinasa stood at the bottom of the steps of Parliament while he was a parliamentarian and referred to Mia Motley. In what word? As I said, standing on this very spot a few months ago. A despot. I have to introduce that word to Barbadians. But before Arthur was calling her a despot, we knew that she was a dictator. And this country will not live under a dictator. And this country will not accept a situation in which a party holds a conference in a public school, a public building, and transform a public building, public property, into the colors of a party. That is wrong. That is wrong. A school is public property. A school belongs to the state. The state is the trustee. And if you don't want to use the word state, the government. The government is the trustee of the people's interests. The government owns the school, not the political party. And it is beyond the right of a political party to transform a school by imposing the symbols of a political party on public property where your children have to go tomorrow morning. And we call on the government this evening. Don't get too angry. Don't get too angry, but I don't want all of us to get angry. Let me hold the anger. You hold back. Hold back a little bit. But while you're holding back, we want the paint. We want the right paint removed from Foundation. Give them a deadline, please. Before the children come in tomorrow. It is. It is. Visit Revelations. Visit Revelations, the mark of the beast. The mark of the political beast in this country is now associated with the color red. And little children have to go into that school tomorrow. You saw the videos. Look, the mind. Don't discount the mind. A body, I'm coming to that. I'm glad you stayed. The mind is a powerful thing. And the mind is connected to a body. In fact, the mind tells the body how to behave. That's why we put on clothes. That's why we feed it. And to impose and inflict raid on that school is a form of psychological violence, Derek said it, against the people, the teachers, all of the staff and the children of that institution who left that school last week and saw the regular school colors, and who will return to Foundation tomorrow and see the colors of a political party. A party that intends to appropriate, to possess the minds of the people, the minds of those children. Psychological violence. That is what it is about. That is the practice of a fascist government. That is how Hitler functioned. That is how Mussolini functioned. And y'all still afraid of me about me? I repeat, that is how Adolf Hitler functioned in Germany. That is how Mussolini functioned in Italy. And y'all still afraid of me about me? Well, will y'all join this Democratic Labour Party in ordering them to remove that raping? Derek wants it moved tomorrow. That is his school. He has a sentimental and emotional attachment to that school. He didn't stand up on the colors of the mark of the political beast. Psychological violence, the behavior of a dictator that wants to reinforce in the minds of the people that the party, the political party, is paramount and ranks with greater importance than the state, than the government. That is what that is about. So that the children will no longer believe that they're going to a school owned by the government. They will see the red of the Barbados Labour Party. And they will believe that they're going to a school owned by the Barbados Labour Party. By Motley. And you're still afraid of me, Motley. And will you ask for the restoration of the rights of your children? And will you ask that your children not be confronted and subjected to dictatorial rule? Will you ask for a restoration of those rights? If not for yourself, for your innocent children, who will walk into that school and ask, what is this red all about? And they will learn that that is the right of the Barbados Labour Party. And it is our duty to say to them, without fear, it is the mark of the political beast that is afflicting the minds of the people of this country. That takes a child at the age of 11 and 12 and 13 and 14 and tells that child that the Barbados Labour Party, the symbols of the Barbados Labour Party, are more important than the national symbols. I pledge allegiance to my country, Barbados, and to my flag, to uphold and defend their honor, and by my living, to do credit to my nation wherever I go. I learned that many, many years ago at Wesley Hall. 1966. I don't have it written in the palm of my hands nor on any paper here. The mind is a powerful thing. And my mind has carried that national pledge from the age of right through. Right through. In plenty and in time of need. When this fair land was young, our great forefathers sowed the seed. Here, our great forefathers sowed the seed. And that's why this tree, that's why this bird tree, that's why this blossoming tree called Barbados. We recognize the seed that planted the democracy that is now Barbados. And we will never reject that seed. We will never forget that seed. And we will continue to raise our children to plant the seeds of democracy in this country. That right there must go this week. This week. This week. It has to go this week. And don't blame the chairman of the board. It's a lady. It's a lady. Blame the chairman. Oh, God, right? I saw a little clip of the thing they did up there, the karaoke show that they did up there last night. Because the political parties across this Caribbean, the high point of their year is their conference. And you know, they will tell us that we had an interesting conference. We did. We did. But there's a spirit in here tonight. There's a spirit in here tonight. And this party, that BLP event that took place this weekend will be remembered as one of the greatest karaoke competitions ever put on in this country. Five beacons of renewal. How many finalists they had? 15? I don't know. But it will be remembered for a beautiful karaoke competition, beautiful singers. Even the one that we know. She sang beautifully. She sang beautifully. And we are glad. We are glad. We are glad. We were glad to hear her voice. We were glad to hear her voice. This party called the Barbados Labour Party is waging war against the people of this country. And we have to take them very seriously. And we have to take that question of the red paint very seriously. It is an assault on the mind. And if you looked at the pictures, the videos from up there last night, red, it's almost hypnotic. You know what is a red room? Red is a violent color. Red is blood.
St. James, so.
When you see red, danger. When you see red, somebody got cut or shot. Somebody is bleeding. This country is bleeding. This country is bleeding the justice that this Democratic Labour Party infused into this body. This country is now bleeding. And the red that you see is the blood of our democracy bleeding across Barbados. And the children of Foundation will be closest to it tomorrow morning. They'll be closest to it tomorrow morning. Parents, grandparents, what is your stand? What is your position? Will you let this one pass? Will you say it is just a color? Will you say it is just a piece of paint? Or will you acknowledge that it is an assault on the mind? I repeat, psychological warfare. It is an opportunity. It is an occasion to tell your child that Mia Motley, of whom you are afraid, of whom we are afraid. We are so afraid. And if we are not afraid, set a date for the administration of that school to restore the colors that the state would have wanted in a state school, in a government school. And I will end this way. Propaganda, how could you think to do that indeed? Propaganda, what is going on up there is propaganda. That's propaganda. And propaganda is violence against the mind. Read your history. When propaganda fails, when a fascist government, when a dictator imposes propaganda, imposes psychological violence on a population, and the population resists it, as you have pledged to resist it tonight, as the parents of the children of Foundation students pledge today to resist it, that you are not going into a right school. You're going into a government school called Foundation, and the name is so significant. They're laying foundations for the young citizens of this country. But I say this to you. That's the motto of, yes. But I want to say this to you in closing. When propaganda fails, what comes next? What comes next? When you try propaganda against the people of a country and the people say to you, we are not afraid, and the people resist you, but you intend to impose your will on the people, what comes next? Well, Mayor Mortley already told you what is coming next. I want Barbados and I want Barbadians here and abroad in the diaspora to come to the assistance of this country. Because Mayor Mortley said a few weeks ago that the size of the army will be increased. And y'all not going to take this woman seriously? Y'all think that these are trivial events? Y'all think that these are empty promises? We have a police service which used to be called the Royal Barbados Police Force, desperately in need of help from the government, desperately in need of a manpower increase, and I'm going to repeat this here tonight, desperately in need of increased salaries for the hard work that they do. Desperately in need of it. Desperately a police force, a police service that is there to serve, to protect, and to reassure. It is a beautiful pledge, it is a beautiful motto, it is a beautiful mission statement in defense of the people of this country. And that Barbados Police Service now finds itself abandoned by a government which has promised to increase the size of an army at the expense of the police force. So crime is rampaging across this country. When you see a 16 and a 17-year-old boy shoot somebody dead, he didn't become a criminal the day before. That was growing inside him. That was growing inside him. And we need a police service that is interested in community policing, to restore the respect that used to be given to police officers. And it hurts me when I see our police officers now relating to the young school children of this country, stopping fights. The policeman used to walk down or ride a police horse down through Grisettes and Deacon's Road there. If you stay outside, you're gone inside. The policeman, the symbol of authority, is upon us. And not only a symbol of authority, but a symbol of respect. How many young people in this country tonight respect the police? And you know, I'm not going to say it here, but when we go to Britain, I'm going to say something to y'all and the people that you will bring about the relationship between the government and certain people. And I will tell you why, as I said before, and I want to reinforce this in your mind, that I asked this government to pass a bail laws, and I am unabashed about this. I am more interested in the peace of this country than I am in the opportunity for certain young men to rampage across this country and shoot little children. I'm concerned for the peace of this country. And I took the position that we should not live in a country in which a man who is on bail for 1 or 2 murders is committing a 3rd one. That's not what peace and good order is about. And they brought a new bail act with a song and dance. And Dale Marshall came in there and said, oh, this is in response to what the leader of the opposition called for. I didn't call for that new bail act. And I want to say to you tonight, this is my legal opinion, that the new bail act only occupies a few more pages than the previous Bail Act. It does nothing fundamentally nor drastically different from the last Bail Act. It just extends itself across more pages to fool you. To fool you that this government and that parliament was seriously interested in preventing crime in this country. I say to you tonight, the government has no serious interest in arresting the nasty criminality that defaces this country. And I'm going to say a bit more, but I want to say it in Britain's Hill. And I want to say it in Deacon's Road, right? And I want to say it in Bank Hall. Oysters, yes. How could I forget oysters? How could I forget oysters? You know, they painted down there right too. They painted down there right too. They painted oysters red, and they have said that money will solve every problem in Barbados. The Barbados Labour Party has said all you have to do is give people a piece of change, take the place a ride, and you got them. That is the credo, that is the philosophy of the Barbados Labour Party. That held their karaoke, their national karaoke competition yesterday. We were down here struggling to hold a good conference, and God helped us. And we held a good conference. We ended on a high. We ended on a high. And we are only on a high. Senator Worrell, Senator Walters, this gentleman of the South. We are only on a high because we are on your shoulders. We are on your shoulders. You are the bearers of this party. You are the ones who take us from parish to parish. You are the ones who took us to Bushall yesterday. You are the ones who took us to St. Lucie to deliver the water. You are the ones who took us to Ellerton and to Rendezvous. You are the ones that did it. Will you stay with us? To present. Will you stay with us? Those of us who have the privilege, and I use the word privilege, we are not here by right, you know. This is a privilege that you have given to us. And we pledge not only to serve your interests, but to serve the interests of this country. To create a country in which children will once again be children. A country in which children will understand the peace of a society. A country in which children will understand the seriousness of school. A country in which our teenagers will understand the importance even of sports, communities, love, generosity, charity, care. That if we play football, if Grisettes play against Deacons, something the Americans call bragging right. Derek, we didn't want the money. Grisettes beat you and I get paid. Or it was the other way around. We were paid with the satisfaction of knowing that we lived in a peaceful country and this woman cannot organize a football tournament unless she waves $100,000 bill in front of people. But let us put the right to brag. Communities coming together in harmony. Although there was competition, there was harmony. I told a footballer this week, I used to love to be at the stadium at night and see the whole of Carrington Village up there, and see the whole of Pinelands up there, and see the whole of Gall Hill up there. Give me another team, Black Spurs. And it was a fierce rivalry. And there were points at which you couldn't stand the other team because you want to beat them. But nobody ain't shoot nobody.
No fights. Healthy, healthy community rivalry. Yes, yes. And when the football finished, I saw this. A horde of people coming down by call. Some quarreling, some laughing. Wales beat Gall Hill. And Gall Hill say we coming back for y'all next time. They didn't come back with any guns. That is the Barbados we knew. Just a few mornings ago. Just a few mornings ago, and nobody waved a $100,000 bill in front of them to entice them to play a game. The Barbados Football Association never waved $100,000 at the young people in this country just to get them to come in almost into Holy Communion. I hope I'm not engaging in heresy. But it was a level of communion among people across Barbados that was healthy. But this woman is all about transactions. This woman cannot relate to anybody in Barbados. Let me hear what she said last time. I want Patty. So all the people in Barbados must line up and say, where's the love? Where's the love? Why are you so afraid? Are you afraid? Are you afraid of me, Motley? Will you therefore fight for the interests of your country? Will you fight for the interests of your children? Will you fight to preserve the name of Aaron Walton Barrow in this part? Will you preserve the legacy of Sir James Cameron Tudor? Will you preserve the legacy of Lloyd Erskine Sandyford? Will you preserve the legacy of all those ministers who created an educational system that made this country what it is today? I said I'm closing many times, but y'all keeping me up here. And I will now close by telling you that the most significant moment in the history of this country was 1961. I said it when I was over there with the vagabonds, and I'm saying it here again tonight. 1961 is the most significant moment in the history of this country when Sir Errol Walton Barrow and Sir James Cameron Tudor determined that all poor people's children could get an education in this country, not by privilege, but by right. And are you afraid? And you come here tonight and you applaud those heroes. And yet, is there fear in your heart? No fear. And will you be afraid to ask the Board of Management and the Minister of Education and Prime Minister Mia Motley to take down that raid? Are we afraid? Are we afraid? And I want to hear you send a message up to Foundation. We are not afraid. Let your voices resonate from this place tonight and send a message across Christchurch and into that right place and say to me, Motley, we are not afraid. You will end this speech for me. You will end this speech for me. And you will end this speech by saying to the Barbados Labour Party, we are not afraid. Good night and God bless you.
Thank you, political leader. I must join before political leader. We're not finished yet.
Go ahead.
Okay, so we're going to. Okay, because of time, we're gonna have to wrap up. I'd like to thank our presenters tonight. Oh, okay, sorry about that. We just have to have a moment of silence. After a note from the president, Mr. Keith Lane from St. Philip West Branch. We're just gonna take a little minute of silence. Please bow your heads. May you rest in peace. And at this point in time, also, I'd like to just make an announcement. Anyone who is desirous of joining the Women's League, please see Comrade Blue at the back. All right? Please see Comrade Blue. Okay? And before we go, there was a person when Rob was speaking who's from watching us on social media. They too agree as it relates to what is happening at the school. They're personal scholar, and they too are recommending that the paint be removed. At this point in time, I'd like to thank all our comrades for turning out this evening. I think we have very well discussion, and I look forward to our next town hall meeting. Please travel safely. Have a good night.